let's accept that fact. And so we eliminated roll call, but we're going to go around the table here and introduce yourself. I don't know where these other people are. We're starting to go around this way, please.
Angela Swanepoel.
Wendy Arsenault.
Eileen Tasso.
Jamie Bogaz.
Laura Carr, Councilwoman, District 3.
Chris Corey, District 4.
Nigel Fullick, District 5.
Fred Forbes, District 6.
Okay, I'm Rick Steinmeier, and now we got a status report from Nicole.
So,
Nicole.
Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry. Arlene wants to explain how
yeah.
these workshops work. Thank you.
So just for everyone's information as well as the public, this is a workshop of the City Council. Under Sunshine Law, they are required to meet in an open forum, but the intent of a workshop is to keep free-flowing conversation so that you all can discuss and move through issues. Our city attorney, Derek Rooney, unfortunately is under the weather and he's participating virtually, so he is listening in. And what we had for you today as far as discussion regarding the current status of the Wondergardens, we would like Nicole Perino, our Parks and Rec Director, to give you a little update on the work the city has done in conjunction with our insurance carrier, as well as FEMA, and the updates on that. And then followed by that will be Laura Taylor with an update, our Communications and Facilities Director, with an update on the facilities report that the city engaged on all city facilities in totality. And then from our stand, we'll move on from there to Neil providing a presentation as well.
Okay, Nicole. I hate to interrupt you. These people are tardy. They're going to introduce themselves. Please.
Hey, I'm Donna Fleming. I'm chairman of the board of the Wondergardens.
Larry Bars, treasurer on the board.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, so Nicole Perino, Parks and Recreation Director. I'm just going to speak on some of the items that we did in terms of the Hurricane Ian damages that we had. So I will be going over both the gift shop as well as the administrative building. So on the first slide that I have up here, what it discusses is all the items that we had to do to build back. So the gift shop is completely built back. Oh, I don't know why the screens all went off. Antonio. Oh, never mind. They're back.
Okay, and also tardy is Jesse Perdon, District 2.
Who just arrived.
Right on time.
Yes.
So, so what we did was with the buildings, they were insured, of course. So we did work with the city's insurance carrier and the city's contractor to build back these buildings. As I was saying, the gift shop is complete. So what I'll do is go through what we did, as well as show you some pictures and different items that we took care of as we went through this. So first up, we did have approximately 8 inches of water in the gift shop building itself. So that in turn caused quite a few damages. So it would be the flooring had to be completely replaced, the subfloor in certain areas, so not the entire subfloor, but certain areas did need to be replaced. The wall paneling, because it did get soaked, so we had to replace entire walls because it was paneling and not drywall. As well as the metal roof. We had a tree fall on the roof, so we did have to make some repairs to the roof. That also includes the trim, the baseboards, the casing around some windows. Electrical, we did disconnect once we, opened up all the walls. Basically, we gutted the building is what had to happen once we opened everything up. We did find some old fuse panels, as well as all the water damaged outlets had to all be replaced, and the old fuse boxes had to be disconnected. The AC package unit that was on the outside, the exterior of the building, it received flood damaged storm surge, so that entire unit had to be replaced. As well as once we opened the building up, we did find termite damage. So we did have to replace those wooden studs, as well as some trusses. And then, of course, the building was treated for termites as well. So it's completely treated. All of the termite damage has been replaced. So that's all been complete. So I'll show you some pictures. So here's the wood flooring. You can see in the pictures on the right-hand side where the water came up and pushed up all the boards, causing them to splinter and break. And on the left, you'll see where we had to completely replace with the exact same type of wood, because this is a historic building. I did go to the Historic Preservation Board to get approval for all of these repairs. So we did like for like. So however it was before, we did it back the same way. So this was a yellow pine floor. We replaced it with the same type of flooring, same color stain. This is the subfloor, and as you can see, there was some subfloor damage. The photo on the left-hand side that's the original subfloor, so we matched it with the same type of wood. So all of the damaged areas that you would see, we replaced it with the same pressure-treated wood. The wood paneling at the top, you'll see how it was originally throughout the building. This was right after Neil and his staff got everything out because we had water. So on the bottom picture, you'll see where the flood cuts, when we did the mold remediation, all they do is flood cuts, even though it was paneling. So when we went back in to build it back, we had to rip out the whole thing, because you can't, like drywall, you can't mud it back in. So the one on the left-hand side, I know it's a little hard to see, but this paneling had specific grooves in it. So we did do custom paneling to have that specific groove built back in. So everything looks exactly the same. Here's the damage to the roof, and the other one is the roof being fixed. So any damaged areas that we had to the roof, we replaced those. This is the termite damage that we found. So once we did rip open, you can see the wood studs and different areas throughout the building had termite damage. So we did replace those and treat for termites. So that's my overview of the gift shop. Now I was just gonna move on to the admin building. So for the administrative building, and those of you that don't know, it is what looks like a single-family home in the back of the property. So when you pull in, if you go into the back gravel parking area, there is what looks like a house to the, I guess that would be the northwest side of the property. In this building, we did have our watermark was 24 inches because it's at ground level, where the gift shop was up higher. So this building, we had to replace quite a bit of stuff as well in this one, but drywall was the big one. Luckily, a lot of this building had concrete or stucco walls in the interior, so they just had to be cleaned, so we didn't have to really do much. With this building, the major issue that we had is once we started the vinyl wood plank, or the vinyl plank flooring that it had in it, it kind of just popped up because it got wet. So we had to peel all of that away. Once we did that, we did find a very old tile, which after testing did have asbestos. So we did have to, because the flooring, when it was removed, it ended up being disturbed. So that caused us to have to remediate the asbestos. So all of that original flooring was removed and remediated. So we had a company come in and completely remediate the asbestos in the building. We also had some wall paneling. There were some built-ins in some of the rooms, and we had to replace those and fix that. We had every interior door was wooden, so every interior door had to be replaced. The there was a small kitchen, and all of the cabinets were waterlogged, so we had to replace all of those. The small bathroom vanity.
I'm sorry, the thing went off. What did you say? Stop that.
The kitchen,
Every interior door had to be removed
and then it was the kitchen cabinets. So they were wooden kitchen cabinets, so we did have to replace those as well. They were just the lowers. They didn't have any upper cabinets because it was a really small kitchen, so just the lowers. And I have pictures I'll show you after I go through this. As well as the bathroom vanity, just a small one sink vanity. We painted the entire interior once everything was replaced and completed. We also power washed the exterior because we had a lot of, due to the surge coming in, a lot of debris and kind of muck all over the exterior. So we got all of that off, and we are almost finished with this building. I did one of the final walkthroughs, so we have some checklist stuff that we just need to get done with our contractors, and then this building will be complete as well. So I'll show you some pictures here. So the picture on the top right, and you'll notice that these pictures, they are date stamped on these, as well as GPS coordinates. This is what we have to send into FEMA. So this is what they need to know to see our damages. So this is a photo of before they had removed the contents, the muck and just kind of stuff all over the floor. And then the pictures on the bottom right and left, that is complete. So that's when we fixed all the drywall, replaced all the flooring, repainted the whole facility. So this is, those two rooms are complete. Again, you'll see the kitchen on the top right. That was the damaged kitchen. So we tried, again, this is historic. So we did like for like on everything. So we matched everything back up. So the cabinets are almost exact. So we had to, so the one on the left is complete, minus the fridge. We haven't gotten that back in yet, but the one on the right is before. So here you'll see some of the pictures. In the top right corner, you'll see that gray tile I was talking about, the original tile that had asbestos that we had to remove and replace and remediate. On the bottom, you'll see another FEMA photo of, again, just muck and stuff that got all over the building. And on the left-hand side, you will see the watermark, which is that 24 inches that I was letting you know. And the whole exterior walls looked like that. They had stuff all over them. So here's another picture of rooms that are complete. The room on the left is as you're walking in the door. The one on the right is one of those, you can't really see it that well, but on the left-hand side, those are all built-in. So we had to fix all the ones on the bottom to get them back in order.
Looks great.
And that's it. So wanted to go back one. The picture on the bottom right, that's the room that had the asbestos flooring. So that's after it was completed and remediated. And that's really all that I have.
Cool question, more for our audience and the folks that are watching on TV. Hopefully there's lots of them. But the cost that our insurance covered, I'll broadcast. I'm watching on YouTube.
We had a deductible.
Yes.
There was a deductible. What did the city end up paying?
So the deductible for the gift shop, for our insurance coverage, is 5% of the damages or building limit. So we did end up paying, for the gift shop, it was $15,787. And for the admin building, it was $7,751. Both of those, though, just so you're aware, and that's why I wanted to show you some of the photos for how we actually have to send them to FEMA, because we are applying to FEMA for the return of our deductibles for these facilities.
Nicole, roughly what do we pay per year for the insurance on all the Wondergarden buildings?
That's,
Roughly.
Lisa?
Lisa's coming up, but his question was what
Just roughly, what's,
What do we pay per year on these buildings for insurance?
We would have to break that down because our policy does cover the entire city and all the different structures, but we could obtain that number for,
breakdown of it for the next meeting then?
we could.
Let them, well, because that's another expense we're paying.
We did want to stress with respect to the FEMA reimbursement, typically that's maxed out for these type of structures at 75%. So the city would end up paying the 25%, and that's based upon eligibility. FEMA, they make you jump through. They're wonderful. They did help us out, especially us as a city during the storm, but we do have to meet all of their requirements. And there's sometimes that they deem things ineligible unless we do exactly what they say, which we've attempted to do. So we do hope, but FEMA is never guaranteed until you go through all the paperwork. But it's about 75% for this type of funding.
Yep.
Nicole, does the preservation part that's, as far as the historic goes, did our insurance cover that as well?
The insurance, what it is it's our deductible. So, and that's where Lisa was saying with FEMA, you have to do it specific ways. They do, when we did, I did many site inspections with FEMA throughout the whole city. They did inspect these facilities. During those site visits, they do have an environmental and historic preservation person on site with you so that you can go over all of those items and we can show them that these buildings have been locally designated as historic. That's it? Okay.
With that, we'd ask for to come forward. She's going to give you an overview of the facilities plan that the city looked at in review of all city facilities.
And for the people that came in late, the mayor says that we're all here to make a better Bonita. We're here to make a better Bonita. Thank you.
Just a second, I've got to get help to get to my presentation. Is there like a remote?
We're just trying to get Derek also, for some reason, is not listening.
It's the timer.
Is there a remote
Oh.
I can use?
Oh, is that what he wants?
Is there a remote?
Wants in?
Is that Derek? Derek's phone.
Is it this?
It used to be, yeah. Sorry. It's always,
This is buying us time because they are working on getting Derek connected properly, so we're.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for helping Derek out.
Not Laura, no.
I'm sorry, I don't know exactly where you are, but
Keep going back. There we go. Right there's good. Okay. So as you know, the city worked with Weston and Sampson engineers to conduct a city facility assessment report this summer on all city facilities. The Everglades Wondergarden portion of that report was provided to the executive director in August. That would include all the structures in the parking lot for the Wondergardens property. Currently, we are focusing on priority 1, which is the highest priority repairs. They include life safety and code compliance. As you can see here, this is for all city facilities, but priority 1, the category that we have outlined in red for you, the repairs for priority 1 are just a little under $350,000, and that's an estimate for the Wondergardens. And then we have most recently been in touch with the executive director with some concerns about the pole barn structure. And he is working with us to make sure that they don't use that structure as there are some structural concerns for it. And that concludes my part of the presentation. You do have the Wondergardens facility assessment report within your packets.
Presentation of Wondergarden.
Thank you. I'm going to go over the new master plan report that we pulled together. I got in here as the executive director, now president and CEO, about 6 months before the hurricane, and or I should say 6 weeks before the hurricane. And certainly it was my first hurricane, and it certainly was a challenge to go ahead and get the facility back up and operating. We did get to, just as background, we did get the facility up and partially running within 3 weeks. We did have over 180 volunteers and over 800 something hours within the first 3 weeks. And that was really from not only the community, but across the entire state. And plus, we had other people from outside the state. So it was quite an undertaking. I know Nicole had mentioned, all the obviously with the damage and the rebuild back, and we sure obviously appreciate that, because just to be able to go ahead and operate had been a challenge for quite some time. So when I did get here, one of the first things, once we got through the hurricane, was to go ahead and take a look at, obviously get a full assessment of the site. Now, I came from up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I was director up there, both for the Zoo and Adventure Park, but also as the Brown County Park Director, on and off, depending on if we were combining those departments. A lot of parks, over 18 parks and whatnot. But one of the most important things that you can have for your facility is a master plan and a strategic plan. And it's, and that was one of the first things when I looked at here is like, well, where's the master plan and the strategic plan, and where are we going to be able to go? What's the vision, so that we're all on the same page? And, it really didn't exist. There was portions of it here and there, they were outdated. The board then gave me the direction to go ahead and go forward with pulling together a plan. So I was able to go ahead, and I will say this, we got some of the best people in the business, in the zoological aquarium business, that were involved with this. I did call 2 individuals, 2 different companies that had worked on our plan up in Green Bay. Now, our plan was about a 43-acre plan up there, but one of the things that was really important when you do your master plan and strategic plan, that it fits the community to be successful. The other thing is, you want that fit so it's not a burden to the community, it's a reflection of the community, and you want the community to be involved. One of the other key things with what we did, and we pulled this together, is then we had a great business plan that went along with it. Of the 200, and at that time, 214 accredited zoos and aquariums in the country, there was only 7 that were self-supporting. There was only one of those 7 who didn't have, a fund that we were pulling from to go ahead and make it, and that was our zoo. So when we did this, we wanted to make sure that and then we grew within our means. That's the other thing is growing within your means, what you can afford, and then to go ahead and put back into it. Well, we took a 14-acre site and it turned into 43 acres. It went from a roadside zoo to being AZA accredited 5 times every 5 years. We got our 25th year award just before I had left. It's in great condition right now. It just got accredited again, and it is turned into a regional facility up there. And it's just been a wonderful place for our visitors and our community. So I was able to go ahead and bring those 2 companies in to go ahead and bear into what do we have. Quite honestly, when I got here and I looked at the state of a number of the different exhibits, the buildings and everything, it was probably a good thing I didn't come down first before, quite honestly, because I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have came back. I don't know, I'm just being honest with you here, is that it needed a lot of work. And we brought them in and we said, I felt it had, we call it good bones, right? There's a lot to work with. It's got a special character to it. Anybody who's connected to the Wondergardens, that becomes kind of part of you as well. Well, I will say this is that they said, yeah, this looks pretty good. And then actually after that, we brought in the former director. He just retired of the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago. He just won the award for the Marlin Perkins Award, which is the highest honor in our industry. He's involved, helping out, because he just moved down to Naples. You know, he's on their board, and he's here helping us out. He wants to see this succeed. He wants this to be something special, what we could do. So he helped out. You know, we brought, you know, a committee of between staff, board members, other individuals. Nicole was involved, you know, just to kind of get a start. And that's one thing I want to say when you look at a master plan, it's a living document. It's a starting spot. You know, I mean, you can look at the whole thing. Maybe you like the whole thing. Maybe you don't like, you know, a lot of it or whatever. It's all subject to change. But it is something, if you're going to be accredited, it is a standard that you must have. You must have some sort of guidance like this to go ahead and move forward. It's not right for volunteers. It's not right for, you know, donors, you know, governing boards, anybody who's involved with this, not to have a plan, a responsible plan to go ahead and move forward. And the other thing is to have accountability as well. This is something that's really important in here. When you look at it, is the accountability of what should be done and needs to be done. We took a look at, you know, really, I mean, the entire site from the buildings, the animal exhibits, down to, you know, the visitor services, everything you'll see in this. So if you look at your packet, initially, you know, we'll talk, it's on page 3. I'm just going to kind of roll through this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as we kind of go through. But, you know, this gives you this roadmap to go ahead and move forward. But one of the things that we looked at, and what was interesting, because even out there in the community as well, you're out there in the gardens and everything, we're not a true botanical garden. And we're not a true zoo. Okay, we're something in between. And what we came up with is an oasis of old Florida. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say that, you know, that they're out there that say, you know what, it's kind of like an oasis. You know, you just come off the road and you come in here and wow, you know, this is, I can't believe this is all here. Beautiful specimens you have, this and that. And so we took that, we said, let's look at doing that, taking a look at the site, and we want to go ahead and likewise use whatever we can. It isn't going in and making wholesale changes with botanical garden. All the trees, the plants, and all that, we're working that in. That's all you'll see. It's all the big specimens. They're all right where they need to be. We just need to look at how do we use that, and how do we have the best Wondergardens that we can have for this community. I mean, really to have something, because it needs work. It needs work, but it really needs to have that vision and that purpose and move forward. The other key is you're doing a master plan. When you do strategic planning, you want to integrate the strategic plan with your master plan. It doesn't do you well to do two separate. That was one of the things we looked at up there, so that we tie in, when we look at our goals, objectives, and everything, we tie that right into performance reviews and everything. So there is accountability on, you know, really all sides. But it's measurable outcomes so that we can get there. So now we can look at this, because the last thing you want is you want your master plan to be sitting on a shelf. You know, a lot of them do if you don't put in those procedures and policies and everything that you need to do. The other thing is we wanted to make sure this is a legacy experience for both parents, grandparents, you know, that it's a multi-generational use when you look at that. I can tell you, you know, I know everybody who's been in here, if you've taken little ones through there, you know, their view of the gardens, a lot of the gardens is a cement wall about that high. You can't see into the alligator exhibit, you can't see where the turtles are, you know, but that's the way things were done before. So what we want to do is go ahead and take a look at, not only from, as you look at from the exhibit end of it, the animal welfare, to bring those animal welfare standards up where we need to be by, you know, proper exhibiting, but also then to go ahead and provide that great visitor experience as well. Because ultimately, when they come to the Wonder Gardens, we need to have a guest experience plan. That is planned out. So when they leave, we've etched them in a certain way that, you know what, they can't think of things a certain way before they came in. And they're gonna be hopefully better conservation stewards. Hopefully they're gonna appreciate, you know, the Bonita Springs, you know, all that this has to offer. But this is going to be, you know, a place of wonder. So as we looked at it, it was like, you know, what we were doing is renewing the wonder. And we needed it. You know, we kind of looked at that. We decided how do we do that. There's a lot of different things that we did, you know, looking at new animal care center. You know, that's one thing that we need to size and scope of that. We're still looking at, but I will say this is with the hurricane that came through, we lost our whole animal kitchen area. I mean, we have a makeshift area. It's just a wall and the sink and trying to do stuff. And that's underneath the barn, which we're gonna move. And then we're gonna move that again. So that's been a traveling, that's gonna go in my office over in the administration building, just so that we can go ahead and get that set up for the time being. And then hopefully we get a new animal care center where you can have, if you have to do surgery, you gotta do any treatments, anything that you need to do. If you have animals, you need to provide those type of services. Or you know what, maybe you shouldn't have animals then, right? If we're not you know, providing, you know, those type of services. Now, page 7, kind of flip through this. You know, we did look at the new vision statement. You know, you can see in the heart of historic Bonita Springs and in partnership with the city of Bonita Springs. From the day I got here, I will tell you this, and the board knows this, is that this cannot happen unless we're in partnership. It doesn't happen. I don't care what we do. It will not get off this page. It won't jump off this page. I can tell you that's how great things happen. That you have to do that. And then we have to continually figure out how do we get our entire community involved. That's the next step, is how do you do that? But it has to be in partnership. This can happen if we all work together. There's no question, you know, there's no question about that.
Hey, Neil.
Yep.
I want to make a statement to the people of Bonita Springs want the Wonder Gardens, and they want it to thrive and survive and live on forever, so to speak. And you're doing a wonderful job. As I say, the people own the Wonder Gardens. It's not owned by the city. We're just the paperwork people. But it's owned by the people of Bonita Springs. It's been there for 85 years. I was in there in 1954. My 2 older brothers became veterinarians because of this. And we all want it to thrive and survive and grow. Now we need the mechanics of it. It's like Reagan's friends. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. See, it's hard to coordinate the 2 public-private organizations to work well. But we're going to make it work.
Thank you. You know, one of the things I wanted to mention too is, you know, I mean, for me, it's like stepping back in time for what I did in Green Bay. It is kind of where we are here and where we can go. But I will say this is, you know, once you get that momentum going, I would walk out in the zoo and you would hear, okay, look what they're doing, okay? Look what they're doing this over here, they must be putting this in here. And then it turned when you heard, look what we are doing. You know, we got to get to that we, you know, and we can get there. But, you know, when that happens, it's something special. And then, you know, things just keep rolling with that. The strategic plan, I'll just kind of flip through this because I know time we got. Page 7, you'll see the strategic pillars from financial stability down animal care, education experience, dynamic partnerships, staff and board, capacity improvements, capacity building. Then you flip to the next thing, you'll see, okay, now we bring that down and, here's the goal, to ensure short-term and long-term financial needs are maintained, fulfilled through viability and sustainable business practices. That's the other thing. It's got to be sustainable. When you're doing something, this has to stand the test of time. Because you got to think about this is you've got legacy gifts that are out there. People are giving, from a legacy standpoint, and you want this to go ahead. So it needs to be planned. It can't be what's the flavor of the month or the flavor of the year, what exhibit we're going to do or what we're going to do. We need to have a good plan. So you'll see then, I won't drill down into those other items, but these are all actionable items. These will all be accountability items as well, as we do that from our staff thing, whether it's, developing our standard operating procedures for the entire facility, we want to make sure that is, and, we want to make sure that, that these, like I said, these plans, there's succession plans that are involved with this too, because we got to be thinking what we're doing, and then what's the next people that are coming in after that, be able to do that, and we set this up to succeed for a long time, obviously. Animal care, one of the things that we we looked at is achieve AZA accreditation. Those standards are the gold standard of the industry. And when I look at the size of the facility where we're at, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't you want to, operate at the best? I can tell you one thing is, your animal welfare and the way the animals are taken care of are going to be at their best. And the professional pride that goes along with that as well is so important. If you want to bring good staff in and you want them to feel good about things, that they're working at that particular level. We all have professional colleagues in there, and we have a number of them, like I said, that are helping us out as well. Just the accreditation standards, just if we're going to, to get accredited, if we want to bring additional flamingos in, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot easier for us to go ahead once we're accredited to be able to do things like this. This is kind of, where we want to go. Educational experiences, we want high quality, meaningful, what we call wonderful education experiences. Page 11, dynamic partnerships. And you can see to build and maintain strong partnerships. Establish healthy, supportive relationships with key partners, including, number one, the City of Bonita Springs, and also the Park and Rec Department. That has to happen. That's where we want to make sure we're going. Florida Gulf Coast, other high learning institutions, school districts. We have to be that community resources. Nobody else, and you think about this, and I used to say this even up in Green Bay, which is true, nobody else has the Wondergardens site. Nobody does. Nobody in Florida has it. Nobody in Georgia, nobody has that. We have this unique site. So for us to do this and really look at this as such a community resource on so many different levels, we want to go ahead and promote that and grow that. Same with your staff and board, the professionalism, the participation of the board, positive, engaged, capital improvements and capacity building. There's information there. Creating donor giving cultivation strategies, initiatives, planned giving opportunities, establish a planned giving legacy society. These are all things, these are all actionable items that, we need to do that to go ahead and support the future in the plan of the gardens. If you go to page 15, this is just the existing site diagram, that we were working off when we first started the plan. Like I say, it's a living document. It's a starting spot, to go ahead and take a look at it. And it's something that, could be, certainly could be attainable. The Next site, or next page is page 16. That you'll take a look at with 16. I'm just gonna kind of briefly go through these because then I'll show you in the back just, just some of the changes that you would see. But you can, when you look at page 16, that gives you a kind of a view of like I say, an overhead view of what the new plan would be, new routes. One of the things we got so many sidewalks in there, I can't tell you that need repair as well, but there's enough sidewalks in there, there's no flow. I mean, where are you going? From this spot to that spot, all those different things. We want to provide a path, because if we've got a good path like this, we can tell a story. Then we can tell a story what we're about and what we want you to get out of that. And there isn't. Right now you just kind of go in and you kind of go in your own direction. Different key areas, I mean, obviously the entry building, that would remain the same. Restrooms. We know we got to do stuff with restrooms. I mean, that restroom building next to it has got to be expanded. Everything's got to be done from ADA, all that. We understand. Those are all addressed as we look at the plan in all those areas, and make sure we've got enough of them too, so that all of a sudden you just go in there and you got 2 spots there, and for the whole park, basically. So you take a look as kind of the walkway around. We talked prior a little bit. Nicole mentioned, with the pole barn, and that's something that the termite damage and everything it's to the point where we looked at that when we were putting the plan together, is that we're going to have to do something with that. So when you look at this site, we put it in an events building. Okay, we mentioned it's got to be sustainable. So a business end, we got to be able to make the funds to operate the funds. So you have to look at, how are you going to do that? So if we take that pole barn building down, we've got a great educational area. You got all the pavers there. We're going to use what we can use within the planning, but that becomes a great area, for education, amphitheater, children's discovery area. That's one thing that, I think we all identified in the planning process is there isn't a lot of things in there to do for kids, the young kids, and to be able to experience that and explore the gardens, and we really need to do that. We want the families to be able to go ahead and enjoy that together, kids to be able to discover and have those learning activities, but also play active environments for them as well. So you can see we put the events building, though, I just want to go back to that, over on the back corner, simply because we have the lawn there where we do have the weddings. So it would make sense if you're going to rent that out for a wedding or whatever. It'd be nice to have a building there, and a multi-purpose building that you could use for a number of different events. I mean, for birthdays, events, you could do education and programming, but it's covered. Right now, we couldn't do, this year, we could not do any, school groups, basically programming through the summer, or summer camps, because we didn't have a safe place to put them in, the kids in. All of a sudden, you've got lightning in the area, you can't go in the pole barn, in the building, there's no room in the building. So we look at this as a multi-purpose building, and also over there, there'd be public restrooms as well. So you want to make sure on the other side of the property, we have the public restrooms. We'll go just kind of over the next page 17, you'll see the circulation. So that's one thing when they look at pulling these plans together, is pulling good circulation through. And the other thing, everything's flat over there, is trying to contour things and build things up and having some sight barriers so you don't look across the gardens and see, everybody else. You want to go from one place to another and be able to just kind of find your way through, and it's kind of a surprise, a sense of wonder from one corner to the other. Page 18, I'm just going to state these projects, and then we'll flip over, just so you kind of get a feel for some of the major projects. But when they looked at this, and some of these are already, being worked on when we look at the renovation and the build back, from the hurricanes. So some of these projects that are on here, some of these things, from the main entry and guest services, obviously we know, the great thing is with that facility assessment, that's exactly what we needed to go ahead and plan as we move forward as well, is to incorporate all that. I mean, we need to, and then obviously prioritize. So that was great information to go ahead and look at. So we've got the main entry, we've got a river otter exhibit. That is going to go back on track. The animal care center, and then service zones. You want to make sure you're looking at the proper service zones, staff building, education center. We looked at, and I just wanted to throw this out there, is since they were there on site and looking at all this, we said the restaurant building's there. It's just, what do you think? Could you use it? Would this fit for anything or whatever? And yeah, it could. It could be a potential education building and fit in that side. Or it can, or we don't have to. But I wanted to make sure, since they're here, let's take a look at that anyway. Let's just kind of throw that out. We looked at, let's see, the perimeter fencing, that all needs upgrade. Grandma's house, the little historic building that's to the side of the entrance building, marsh exhibit, and I'll go back to Grandma's house and some of these bigger items.
Neil, if I can interrupt you for a minute.
Sure.
We do want this to be a working session.
Oh,
So,
sure.
First thing,
Okay.
glad you're here. You're a very transparent guy. I've heard that from staff. You're an easy guy to work with. No one here is the enemy. I know there's about $1 million in donations that I'm aware of sitting out there in the audience. A little bit of it's mine. Love the Wondergardens. Delighted with where we are now from where we were and where we could have been, which that's a whole other topic, where we could have been. But are these prioritized?
Yes.
All these projects. Can you tell us what the priorities are on those? And then if you could also tell us the estimates for these. Where did they come from?
They're prioritized. The first thing is really is getting that river otter exhibit up and going. Then the next priority would be the animal care center. So that we're looking at, because that will be, that's going to be the heartbeat.
So are these in a priority order now?
Yeah.
They are, okay.
Our, Grandma's house, actually, the
Nigel,
priority is on,
your microphone?
is on page 20, is what we'd be looking
I
at.
apologize. What I was asking was if there is a priority order.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the key to the master plan too, because you gotta be able to, how you bring all that stuff in, and it's gotta be both the guest side, the animal side, the service side, and the sustainable business side, to how you bring all that stuff out, so it's orchestrating how you pull all that together. The estimates are just industry estimates that were given, okay, by these consultants, and I can tell you these consultants work on from all these different zoo projects, and they're throwing numbers out there. But you know what, and I know it, we can go ahead, we can build a $300,000 house, or we can build a $2 million house. So it's like an alligator exhibit, okay, I can.
The $300,000 house in Indiana is a $2 million house.
It's $2 million, yes.
That's my biggest concern.
Oh, yeah, no, these numbers.
So when you say industry standards, that's my concern, because some of us here are banking. There's two guys that love numbers.
Sure.
And in looking at some of these, that's where the first concern came to me was these seem to be very low. Construction costs, they seem to be very low. So that's my first concern. Are we at 8.5 million, or are we really at 12 to 14 million?
I'm thinking we're right around 8.5. I really do, because there's things within this project. I think, some of the estimates are on the high side of what can be done
Okay.
out there.
Question.
Sure.
I like what I'm hearing gone over and consulted with the chief of building inspection? Because if you haven't,
You got a microphone, Fred?
My fault.
no, that's okay.
I'm sorry, Frank.
Got borrowed his pen. So anyway, you need to do that because, for two reasons. You're gonna find that you're gonna have to do things different than you envisioned, probably. That's gonna affect your cost. I think it's not a good idea to be showing the public a master plan until you at least get somebody like the chief building official to help you. He's willing to help, but I think you need more work, more input with us so we can give you input back. And that's what I'm not seeing, so I would urge you to do that.
Absolutely.
It'd be good for both, and I'm an architect and engineer. I'll be glad to give you my opinion on different things for free.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the other thing, I mean, Donna, you're the only one I actually really know here, but what's the board's vision? I'd love to hear, is the board's vision this master plan? Is that it? Because y'all have been quiet.
We're at a point now where I'd like to go back to reality, and we got the attorney on the speakerphone, and we're working on an operating agreement. And Derek, are you there?
I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Can you make a statement as to what the future looks like?
Well, sure. Let me just go over a little bit where we were, and hopefully that'll help understand what we need to accomplish in this agreement. So the original operating agreement contemplated a number of items occurring, which included the inventory and transfer of all the assets of the former Piper estate to the city. This included the animals, it included the licenses for the animals, all the capital items at the facilities. Over the years, there's been no real accounting for all that, so that's been a big point of concern. We don't know what's come in, what's gone out. There was also requirements in the original operating agreement that major capital improvements be reviewed and approved by the city council. That did not occur. There were also requirements in the original operating agreement that the Everglades Wondergardens would permit through our community development department all contracted work on the site. That has not occurred as well. So now we are made that aware a couple of years ago, and we're working to get compliance with that original agreement. But what we'd like to do is to basically wipe the slate clean, start with a new understanding of what is the city's role, what is the Wondergardens' role, who owns what, who's responsible for what, because this lack of clarity and the lack of accountability in the prior operators, this has nothing to do with Neil, has led to a ball of yarn that is just going to be very difficult for us to try to work within and untangle. It'd be better for us to start fresh with a new slate of understandings and a new framework.
Yeehaw.
Is that it, Derek?
That's it.
Okay, yes. Go ahead.
Just for the public's information, I don't really know how long Angela and Wendy and Eileen's been on the board, but, you know, I've heard a lot of comments about the city hasn't been a good partner in this, and that we're trying to do something and take the Wondergardens away and so forth. Let me just give you a little bit of history so that the public understands, and it's all contained in the recital section of the current operating agreement. Back in 2015, 8 years ago, the city provided a bridge loan to the Wondergardens to keep it afloat. It was basically bankrupt. In exchange for that, we got a short-term mortgage that allowed the Wondergardens to continue to exist. We were subsequently told that the Wondergardens could not make the payments under the terms of the mortgage, and that the operations of the Wondergardens were still in jeopardy. So what ended up happening was the Wondergardens created a not-for-profit board, and the city agreed to create an operating agreement to fund or replace the 2015 agreement or that provided the money for the Wondergardens to survive. And then in 2018, the city took a deed in lieu of foreclosure, because it had the right to foreclose, and took the property in lieu of enforcing the terms of the mortgage and the participation agreement. So just so that everybody's clear, the city did step up 8 years ago, recognizing that the Wondergardens is important to the community, Wondergardens is important to the people, the Wondergardens is important to our tourism industry and to the kids that live in our community and to the students that are, as the mayor said, interested in veterinary medicine and so forth. And while I look at this master plan and I think it's, you've probably done a great job. I'm no expert on running a Wondergarden or an oasis. But I'm really interested in making sure that we're building this plan on top of a partnership that is working together. Things have been said back and forth, allegations have been made, things like that happen. I've been married 55 years, and I will say that on more than one occasion, that's probably happened in my marriage, okay? Every once in a while, you need to sit down at the kitchen table, have a frank discussion, and reset the partnership. And I'm looking forward to, as we continue on, to resetting the partnership so that we can get a new operating agreement in place, because I recognize until a new operating agreement is in place that it's going to hang up donations that the Wondergarden is going to receive. It's going to not provide the way in which the Wondergardens can make further capital improvements. At the same time, there needs to be some consideration on the part of the Wondergardens that, eventually at some time we need to comply with the operating agreement, whether it's the old agreement or whether it's a new agreement. There needs to be some climb. We need it, we never have received any audited financial statements. We have never received an annual business plan. Okay, so as part of the resetting of all this, certain things need to be done. Now, what I'm looking forward to is to have the Wondergarden come back and say, okay, if we got a clean slate, if we got a clean whiteboard, here's how we need, in our view, to modify the operating agreement. Derek Rooney, the city attorney, has been waiting for that for some time. And so I think it's important that we build the plans for the Wondergarden on a strong partnership between the city and the Wondergardens. And I look forward to our being able to do that. I know we're about running out of time, but it's 4:59. But I wanted to get that said so that we have that as a starting place to move forward. I don't want to get all involved in everything Neil's done. I'm sure you've done a great job. My concern is that we have an operating agreement and that this is the first of many partnership meetings where we can sit down and talk about the future of the Wondergardens and make sure we're all on the same page. Okay?
Can we get some input from the Wondergardens Board of Directors as to where we are, what we're doing, and what you think?
I think I'm one of the...
We're going to have another meeting, by the way. This is not the last workshop.
Well, welcome to Bonita Springs, and I arrived last year and I had a hurricane. So that's the way I ended up here, with 2 houses flooded at the same time. and that's sort of how I got involved with cleaning up at the Wondergardens. As an educational person, it's all about reciprocity, and that's exactly what I think you're looking at. You know, something that how can we help each other to make this an oasis in Bonita Springs. It's one of the first places I visited when I came here, and I saw the potential for education and for students who don't have the opportunity to go to a zoo that's down the road for them. And we've got Bonita Springs Elementary, you've got Bonita Springs Creek, which is a bit further, but the kids can walk down there. It's an amazing place to be. So that was my sort of interest in becoming part of this board, was on the educational capacity that it has for our students here. It's something unique that nobody else has. So thank you.
Yes,
I would like to see this as a public-private operating agreement. I believe we started on that last year and almost came to agreement on it, and I wish we could start from that level again. I think it covered everything. It gave us a long-term lease, which we need, because no donor is going to give you money if you could get kicked out in 6 months. If we need to be kicked out because we've breached the agreement, a material breach, then yeah. But otherwise, we need to work together to make it work, and we need to have a long-term lease in order to be able to operate.
Hey, Derek, what do you got to say
Oh, Jesse had it.
about?
Sorry, technical difficulties. I don't disagree with the chairwoman on that issue at all. But the terms of the initial lease, what those other capital improvements, possible donor improvements, all those things are going to drive how we're going to form the operating agreement. The concern I have with the current agreement is that if there is a breach, it's not easy to unwind the situation. And we need to be sure who's responsible. We cannot be locked into a situation as the property owner where we may have a tenant, and I know I'm going outside the realm of public-private partnership here, but we have a tenant who is in violation, but we have no mechanism to cure. The city doesn't want to own and operate the Wondergardens. The city doesn't want to handle the animals. That's been made very clear. These are the concerns. So we have to be able to address all of the city's issues before we can feel comfortable giving a longer leash.
Okay, Jesse, you have something to comment? You have something good to say?
Yeah, I think this is a good first step at a discussion that's long overdue. Neil, I haven't had the opportunity to meet with you yet. In 2019, I came and I spoke in favor of the public-private partnership. In 2021, I was the one who pulled it off the consent agenda and said, until we get an operating agreement that works for the city, we need some work done. But the deal is, you can't be held responsible for past sins of anybody. And I read up on your pedigree to do this, and I think it's great. I still feel that the value of the Wondergardens for the city is very significant. So my comments at council, which I hope you listen to, I hope you don't take those adversarially. My communication style is direct, and it's to the point, and I want us to have a workable agreement before you came. And not that it matters, but just to give you a little perspective of what you're walking into, that I guarantee they didn't tell you, along with some of the other things that you might have thought a little bit about. But
the Paul Harvey rest of the story.
Yeah, the rest of the story, right? The past due financial obligations is one thing. So you can't raise money with things as they are because things are in flux. But let's get it straight. Wondergardens got out of the operating agreement status. It wasn't us. Okay, so their failure to meet their financial obligations they agreed to legally with us as an organization were not met. As a result, they ended up where they were. I'm not saying there's not a workable way forward, but we can't pretend that it's any other way, because that's how it was. There was, before you, and the two prior, at least the two before you, there was a heavy reluctance on being financially forthcoming on a number of issues, whether we're talking the alligator pit or trying to illegally procure flamingos or whatever the deal is. There were a number of issues where there was a lack of transparency, and then when we called it out, there was still a lack of transparency. Part of that is an old school mentality that the city is a necessary evil, and they're operating, it's their thing. They have to deal with us to keep us happy, but that's it. But that's not it. This is a very symbiotic relationship. You guys are in an area where we've put over $50 million in the ground. Back when I came and I spoke in favor of the public-private partnership, though I in general don't like them, the reason I did it was because there was a mattress store sniffing around and other things that would have been absolutely horrible for the vision that I knew that we had. So I think it's still just as valuable as it was then, but I feel like at some point along the line when, not only were bills not being paid, we had a situation where we were developing the downtown. The CEO got told, or I'm sorry, the executive director got told by the board, I'm not sure if you guys were on that board or not, to come to the meeting and talk against us developing the downtown because they wanted to expand for parking. So this is something we'd been working on for 20 years. You guys aren't even in contract with us. Then you're going to come to our meeting on direction of your board and then try to stop the development of the downtown. That was not understanding their place at the table or the fact that they were out of contract with us. To me, completely inappropriate. They tried this restaurant fiasco. I don't know if you were right in on that or not, but before you arrived, we went up one side of Bonita Beach Road and down the other about this restaurant that's on the property. I still don't even know how I feel about who should own that, to be honest with you. But point is, we were with staff the day of. Our city manager, our city attorney, the executive director, I believe the chair. One opinion was told exactly how, here's our stance. 3 hours later, they came to the meeting, reversed their stance, had the news there, and had us looking like jerks. So this is a relationship that needs repair. Again, you were here for none of this. I'm not holding against you, and I'm giving you the perspective so you can understand when we see the financials and we see things on the long-term goals that you have that are, I'm not saying they're good or they're bad or indifferent, but things like an animal hospital, things that are going to cost a significant amount of money, and things that would, under any circumstance, even if you were under contract, things that would have to be discussed and approved by us. So the idea that you can be out of contract on our property raising money for a structure that isn't approved, in my eyes, isn't appropriate. So that's a discussion I shouldn't be hearing about us doing an animal hospital in the same presentation that you guys are giving out to raise money to people when you weren't in a contract with us yet. We didn't know anything about the animal hospital. We didn't approve the animal hospital. Not that we wouldn't, but the point is, procedurally, how it's supposed to happen is how it has to happen. A prior regime forgot where they were at the table. The city owns the property at this juncture. We want to have you all there. It has to be a workable agreement that works for the city of Bonita Springs. Any nonprofit in the world would love to operate on the Imperial River with the overhead, without any of the financials or any of the other obligations that y'all currently have. I'm not trying to break the bank. I'm trying to make it a reasonable and fair agreement, just like it was initially intended to be. And then we can all move forward together. Again, these are all things before you. These are things I'm giving you perspective so you see what you inherited. So that when we're trying to untie this, when you see tension from us, it's not tension on you, but it's tension from, this is not something new. Just like our issues with Coconut Road and Estero, these things aren't new. These are old wounds. So you jumped into it, it's a lot going. There's a workable model. But the first and foremost, I don't think all of this talk is cart before the horse until we get into an operating agreement that will work for us. That's going to have to decide, what are we going to do with the restaurant? What is rent going to be? What are capital improvements going to look like? And then furthermore, from an accountability standpoint, on a monthly basis, somebody from your staff needs to be sitting with somebody from our staff, whether it's Nicole, Matt, somebody. And you know what? Everything in those last 30 days that ranks above a 5, the city should know about it. Okay. Anything that's over, I'm not done yet, everything that ranks over $5,000, the city should know about. The reason for that is, again, based on the experience. We lost $60,000 in this alligator pit that never came to fruition. If we were every month having these meetings, that never gets lost in the sauce. We aren't 8 months down the road before we realize we have a problem. So if we can get into agreement, there has to be checks and balances on not only the financials, but everything going on in that building. And it has to be that way. And if it's not, that's not gonna work for us. So I think we can get it done, but a lot of that's gonna change. And a lot of the things that are currently in the operating agreement, we don't have the time to go point by point, but they're issues that need to be addressed. Derek has a whole list of them. So that being said, welcome to Bonita. I look forward to meeting, hey, after this is worked out, I look forward to meeting you and talking to you. You seem great, but thanks, Neil.
You're done. Anybody else want to throw in here? Yes, Laura.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, nice meeting you. And Jesse did raise a couple of elephants. One, that there's lack of parking. Two, that there was bad faith on the part of the, well, I don't know. I mean, the contract goes, it changes between BWG and EWG, so it's not clear. But EWG is the contractor that is named. So the other issue is sort of the hippo in the room, the restaurant. And you're also, we just find out that you're adding a new building for reception. So you're going to need even more parking. The restaurant, have you been in it?
No, I haven't been in the restaurant.
Ah, because you're not allowed because it's dangerous and condemned. So I think we could perhaps ask DBZ to design a parking area, raise the wire in the back by the residence cottage that it used to be called. I forget what you guys are calling it now. But raise that wire and then extend parking even further back and make it so that there's a logical path to get into the building, the barn be repaired for the animals, because that's where the safety is, right, for them?
The barn, and that's what we looked at with that event space, would we
Right.
replace the barn.
Ah, you see, I was thinking that the barn would be the entertainment space, because the animals just kind of go where they want. But, okay, so you guys, but to build a whole new entertainment and then advertise for weddings, you're bringing in, and people are gonna come downtown. Downtown is popping. We are having such phenomenal success with what's going on downtown that I think that people want to have, all sorts of events down there and then go walking.
Okay.
Can I ask a
We
question?
move on.
Just one question, Mr. Mayor. To Jesse's point, before we do anything, is anybody in disagreement that we need an operating agreement? Does anybody feel that's inappropriate or unacceptable?
I do. I think we need a lease, not an operating agreement.
They're both the same.
No, the operating.
I'm going to have to slow this down.
Or speed it up?
We have a public comment period here. We need some public comment up because we have another meeting here in about 20 minutes. So any public comment, please come forward. Trish, thank you.
If you want to talk, you should.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes. Good evening, the council and the mayor and everyone from the gardens and from the workshop. Trish Leonard, and I was the first call when the Everglades Wondergardens was going to be sold. And I had really honestly never been there. I've only been there when it was through leadership, and it stunk. I can remember that. But I got a call from someone from Naples who said, Trish Leonard, we need some help. We have an old building, it's called the Everglades Wondergardens, and we need to help save it. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? Put people together, let's help save it. Honestly, it was done all behind backwards. So usually when you start up a not-for-profit, you have everything done correctly. We just wanted to save it. And we did do it the wrong way the first time. And I'll admit to that because my name is on that lease contract, whatever you want to say it, to help save it. In good faith, I called up some great people who are sitting in the audience, and we got together some money to try to work it out, to try to do something. And when Carl was here, he came up with an idea about saving us some money or loaning us some money. We did make the first payment. So I do want to at least stress that we did make 500, if I remember correctly, $555,000 whatever dollars. So we did try really hard to pay back the city, but it was a bad timing. It was done incorrectly as far as the way we did our not-for-profit. But I got to tell you, I'm really proud of where we are and where we're going to go, and I really hope that we do start off with a clean slate, with the proper things. And I understand, I get it. I believe I do get it that we need to do it the right way. And if we could just put all the old stuff behind us and move forward, because we got some great things happening downtown. And, the only way to move forward is if we all come to an agreement, or your board of directors, into an agreement with the city. And I agree, they're trying to help us, and they are supporters of the Wondergardens. And I just wanted to say, since my name was honestly on the first season of that, I just, we did it wrong the first time. I don't know. We got a call. We came to a rescue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Manager, we have any more public comment? Please come forward in a hurry, because we're running out of time here.
No, Mayor, we have the ability to run a little bit further into the council meeting time, so you can give adequate time for public comment.
I want to start the council meeting at 5:30.
Hi, my name is Arden McCurdy. My only comment is, it is very, very hard to ask somebody for money when all the rumors are going around that the Wondergardens might close up or be gone. And, we need the money. I mean, they obviously need the money. They were going to start a capital campaign. Everything's on hold at this point, because you can't ask somebody to give $2 million when you don't know if it's going to be there in 2 weeks or a year or whatever. So the most important thing is either the agreement or a lease, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not asking anybody for money. And we're supposed to have fundraisers in February, and it's going to be awfully hard to ask people, because the people you ask are your friends. And if you get money from your friends and then it's gone in 6 months or a year, they're not going to talk to you. That's
City Manager, when's the next meeting, or what's the future look like here?
How about this?
If it's the pleasure of both the board and the council, I know you had a workshop. I know that everyone liked to keep this moving forward and kind of come to some agreements. We had a workshop already scheduled in 2 weeks. We can accommodate that as a second workshop if you like. Also, if there's anyone who would like individual meetings of the council with Neil for updates or with staff, we could set those up as well.
Do we need another workshop before we get, we need to work on the agreement. I don't think a workshop does us any good until we can have if we can get to the point where the lawyers are working on an agreement that we can all look at, then a workshop's prudent. But until we have that to look at, I don't know how another workshop is helpful, because we're going to keep spinning our tires.
Derek, can you come up with something in a couple of weeks?
Can I make a suggestion?
Could the board present their side and then we respond to it? What do you guys want?
It might be helpful if Derek and Arlene and Neil and I got together and go over the points that you have already given Derek and address them, and then Derek can, discuss it with you, and it might go faster that way.
Where's your microphone? You're talking, nobody can hear.
You loaned it out.
It's a Lend-Lease mic. Could we, at least within a week, have what you would consider the amount of term in this initial lease that you're looking for? Because what I'm thinking about, I would support, we give you a clean slate, we give you that many years, but at the end of that many years, that thing, if we can cancel in 6 months or you can, goes back in. Because if you're not performing, we don't need to be held down, but we could give you a real good chance, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, whatever you're looking for.
5 years.
Attorney Rooney, could you come in here?
Mr. Mayor, I just have one suggestion. I think if I understand correctly, maybe it would be helpful for the chair of the Wondergardens, the attorney, myself. I would ask, it would be helpful, because I think this helps with transparency and the council being more aware, if you all would have possibly a council member participate with us, because I think that's where we want to make sure that that's fully aware. That way, during the council meetings, the council member can continue to give updates. And one thing I'd really like to work with Neil on, we don't need to have separate workshops, but incorporating Neil into some of our city council meetings as updates and reports, just like you receive updates and reports from all the department directors. This is such an important, vital asset to the city. You should be getting updates on their progress as well. We can talk about some of the facts and figures you may want to receive, and Neil and I can work on that. We could, similar to how you get updates from neighborhood services on calls of service, we can have information on number of visitors, programs, things you're doing for the community, so that the council can be fully aware and have those transparent conversations too.
Okay, so we're gonna end this meeting pretty.
And I would nominate Jesse to.
Wait a minute.
I need to be.
I've got the floor, okay? We're gonna end this meeting pretty quickly.
I know.
Let me just bring one thing up, is you all cannot make any motions at this meeting. We can bring this back up during your city council meeting, and you can discuss who you like to be your liaison.
What I was gonna say is, in the next council meeting, the staff will have something for us.
Next council meeting is in 10 minutes.
What?
The next council meeting is in 10 minutes.
Well, 2 weeks from now.
We will have.
The next city, not today. Come on, Laura. Not today. Just sometime in the next.
We'll be able to give you some updates by November. Updates.
At the next city council meeting.
At the
5:22. We got any more public comment, real quickly? Motion to adjourn.
Second.